Hi guys, welcome to my page, Couch Talk with Carson. So this is our second couch talk that we're going to have, and it's a little different today. I don't have any guests, it's just me and you, and I am coming to you today. I am in full swing. I'm just getting off of my book signing from Memoirs of a Teenage Girl. It was a wonderful experience. It truly came together just like I imagined, even more beautifully. So if you didn't come, you missed a real treat. But just moving forward in the light of it being Counselor Awareness Month, I am coming today to discuss toxic people. We hear so much of this catchphrase now, toxic behavior, toxic people, toxic relationships, but not many people are familiar with what a toxic person may look like, what they may sound like, what are some of the things that they do. So I'm going to go over the most common toxic kinds of people or toxic behavior that is seen and experienced, and at the end I'll kind of give you some tips on how to deal with it, and if it's too bad, then how to kind of get out of that situation. So like I said, there are several types of toxic people, and so the first one I'm going to talk about is a toxic person that tries to control you, or that's one of the ways that they are toxic. Toxic people love to control. Oh my goodness. Not just your life, but everybody else's. It's their way or the highway. Oftentimes they put you in situations where you have to choose their way in order for things to kind of like pan out. So if you want to play nice, then you have to play by their rules. While this person can be unassuming at first, they try to do things in little ways that end up eventually turning into a full-on game of control and surrender. Which leads me to my next point. Like I said, they do little things. Toxic people have manipulative characteristics. So what I mean by that is they like to manipulate situations. They like to manipulate people because it's directly connected to the idea that they like to control a situation or control a person. So along with manipulating comes lies, comes situations where they don't necessarily tell you the full truth. They exaggerate things, or they leave parts of the story out in order for you to make your mind up, in order for it to turn out the way that they want it to turn out. The third type of toxic person, or third characteristic of a toxic person, they
are always right.
A toxic person can never be wrong. Okay? It doesn't matter if you know for a fact something is one way. It doesn't matter if your feelings are hurt behind it. They are never wrong. They're always right. And they will argue you down, any way that they see fit, they're going to do it. And that is directly tied to their next characteristic. And that is that they like to play victim. So when situations don't pan out the way that they see fit, when the rubber has met the road, and let's just say you refuse to back down. You refuse to say, I'm taking this on and this is my fault, but that they're wrong, then guess what they'll do?
Toxic people like to play the victim.
Oh, yes. We see this all the time where they have created a situation, they have created drama, they have created a circumstance, and again, they don't see anything wrong with what they did because they're never wrong. And so, because of that, people are attacking them, people are after them, people are just, you know, there to beat them up and make them feel bad. And so they play the victim card. And oftentimes it leaves you wanting to defend yourself. You constantly feel like you're in defense mode. You constantly feel like your back is against the wall. And that is a sign that you are in a toxic friendship or relationship, or unfortunately sometimes it's family members. Also, toxic people don't like taking responsibility. Responsibility is a no-no on their list. If they have to take responsibility, it means at some point that they could possibly be wrong. It means that at some point they could not be the victim. When you take responsibility for your actions, you're saying, I'm taking ownership of this situation and everything that comes along with it. And so unfortunately, when you're dealing with a toxic person, or you have a toxic person that is in your space, they refuse to take responsibility for their actions, and they love to place blame on someone else. So these are some of the general characteristics of a toxic person. So let's talk about, what do you do when you have a toxic person that's a lifelong friend? So oftentimes when a young adult is emerging and they're coming into their own, and they're finding out things about themselves that they didn't know, and they're learning and they're growing, sometimes friendships become a focal point. You figure out who are really your friends and who are people that are not really in your corner. This is when toxic people really start to rear their ugly behavior. And it's up to you to decide on whether or not you're going to keep this person in your space, or you're going to allow them to just go and do their own thing. It becomes difficult when you have a lifelong friend, because you think, oh, I've been with this person for so many years. This person knows me inside and out. And I'm going on this journey in my life, and I need my lifelong friend. Well, here's the secret. If you have a toxic person on the journey with you through whatever it is that the path that life is taking you, if you're taking a toxic person with you, they'll do one of two things. They will slow you down, or they will completely stop you. So I would encourage you to take full stock of what it is you're actually continuing to put up with when you have a toxic person in your life, and you're journeying on in your life to do more and bigger and better things. Everyone can't be front row at your show. There is also the toxic person that can be a coworker. We oftentimes come into contact with people that, we grow to love, and we like their personality, and we're glad that we met them at our place of business. And then there are times with people you find that you much rather not deal with at all. Well, sometimes we don't have control over who we have to work with or who we have to interact with. So when you find yourself in a place of close proximity, having to work on a project or have to interact with someone who is of a toxic nature, I would encourage you to CYA at all times, because they're the type that does not like to take responsibility for their actions, because they like to place victim. play victim because they're never wrong, then unfortunately, if something goes sideways in a work project, or if something happens and a blame needs to be placed, and it might not necessarily be you, it will be you. So it's important to, I would say, keep paper trails, emails, involve someone else in the process, maybe a supervisor, a manager, administrator, just so that you are covered. You don't want to lose your job. You don't want poor rapport with someone who is your superior in the workplace, because you're working one-on-one with someone who is toxic. Another scenario is having a toxic family member. This one, guys, is tough. Having a toxic family member is probably the most draining out of the three that I've named. And I say that because love is involved. And not that you don't or may not love your friend of many years, but it's just different. And so when you're dealing with a family member that's toxic, you often fight with the idea that this person is your family member, whether it's a sibling or a cousin, an aunt, or maybe even a parent. You toggle with that. You wrestle with that as a human. It's wanting that connection and wanting to stay in a tight bond with someone who you love, who you share blood with. But the reality is that unfortunately sometimes we have to make boundaries and stick to them, even with our family members, especially if they're toxic. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries give definitive lines for not just the other person, but also for yourself. If you have no boundaries, then oftentimes you find yourself doing things that you normally would not do. You allow things that don't necessarily feel good. And it can take you to a place that you are unfamiliar with. And so with boundaries, especially with toxic people, it sets the tone for how the relationship is going to play out. Having open and honest communication with a person that is toxic is imperative. Even if you feel like they're not listening, you still need to voice what you have to say. Once you've voiced your opinion and your thoughts on the matter, then you have to stick to it. Setting boundaries may look like not always doing what that person wants you to do at the drop of a dime. It may look like saying no sometimes. It may look like not talking to them as often as you normally would before in the past. It may also look like you not sharing information that they can use against you at a later time. We have to pick and choose our audiences wisely. We are keepers of our hearts. We are keepers of our mind and our peace. No one else can give that to us. We have to build that ourselves. And if we're not careful with the people that we allow in our circle, in our surroundings, then we tend to lose our peace. We tend to lose ourselves to those people. Unfortunately, toxic people don't always know that they're toxic. It could be situational. It could be a part of a characteristic flaw. However, it's not really up to you to fix them. It's up to you to protect yourself, be smart, be at peace, and be wise. I'll be leaving a list of the characteristics of a toxic person in the description box below. And I'll also be writing a quick blog on my website at justinamina.com. And I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, like it and subscribe to my page. And I'll see you next time for our next couch talk during the month of counselor awareness. Next time we'll probably be talking about boundaries. Since that's come up, I think boundary setting is so important. So I'd love to talk to you later. Thank you for stopping by. See you later. Mwah.